Donovan is one of Australia's most famous didgeridoo players. He worked as the official government didgeridoo player and played around the world. He now works as an ambassador and CEO of Generation 1, an organisation launched by Kevin that supports the Aboriginal people through training, education and employment.
It's pretty well read. Well done.
I have chosen to do my school project on you because you are Aboriginal famous and because I want to make a didgeridoo. I have 20 important questions to ask you. What tribe do you come from?
I come from the Gukul-Yalanji tribe and the Gumbaynggirr tribe.
What is your family totem?
We have a couple of different family totems. One is the long-necked turtle and the other one is the cassowary.
How important is the didgeridoo in Aboriginal culture?
The didgeridoo is a very important instrument for the people up in northern Australia. So that's where the didgeridoo is played traditionally, while these days it's played everywhere. Once upon a time it was only ever played in the north of Australia.
Who taught you how to play didgeridoo?
I was pretty lucky. It was my grandfather that taught me how to play.
How old were you?
I was 17.
How much did you have to practice to get good?
Like everything, I had to practice a lot. So I was practicing a couple of hours every day when I was first learning to play.
How did you end up playing for the government and all around the world?
Well, I started off as a dancer, performing with dancers, and then I went to running my own business. And I guess I was pretty lucky that I was invited to perform for people around the world.
Where around the world have you played didgeridoo?
Well, I've been to most countries. I've been very lucky. I've played in Buckingham Palace for the Queen. I've also played for the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala. So it's pretty much across the world.
What famous people have you met?
Oh, probably none more than what you might become.
Are other people allowed to play someone's didgeridoo, or is it sacred?
No, other people can play other people's didgeridoo, although I must tell you they're pretty dirty instruments.
How do you play for so long without taking a breath?
Well, you always have to take breath. You have to breathe in your nose and blow out air at the same time.
How many didgeridoos do you have?
11.
What do you think about when you play didgeridoo?
I try not to think about too much, although obviously there's cultural, sort of rhythms that are very important that you have to be able to think of constantly.
How do you feel when you play didgeridoo?
Completely relaxed.
How do you think your role has helped Aboriginal culture?
I've had a very lucky role because I've been able to go and travel around the world and tell people about some of the challenges that we face as Aboriginal people here in Australia today.
What is your role with Generation 1 important?
Well, as the CEO of Generation 1, it's very important because we're changing the opportunities to make finding employment easier for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people.
What is the most special about the Aboriginal culture?
Probably the spirituality and the connection to land.
What is the most sacred thing about Aboriginal culture?
Our children.
Who is your favourite Aboriginal Australian, past or present?
Wow, that's a really hard one because probably from a family perspective, my grandfather and my grandmother are my heroes. But there's people like Kathy Freeman, who's one of my favourite people, favourite Aboriginal people. Achieved a lot. David Unipon, the man on the $50 note, a great scientist of his time.
Thank you for your time to join me. Goodbye.
Thank you.